Welcome to State of the World. I'm Sally Lockwood in Dubai. I've covered stories around the world from Ukraine to Afghanistan, most recently as an anchor for Sky News.
Hi, I'm Tara Palmeri. I'm based in New York and DC, and I've also been a journalist for 15 years, a White House correspondent covering the Trump administration, and now an independent journalist.
Yep, we're two journalists, also friends, discussing the state of the world from two sides of the globe, but with no sides, no agenda, just our reporting and you as part of our global conversation. There is so much to talk about when it comes to Ukraine right now and this peace deal, but it does feel like it's reached crunch point. Tara?
President Trump, he said on the campaign trail, I will solve the war in Ukraine in just one day. Well, it's been almost 100 days. He's almost at that 100-day mark, and I think he's aware of that. And he doesn't have the patience, you could say, for prolonged negotiations. Kind of the art of the deal is sort of a little bit of a pressure campaign, some high stakes maneuvering, and then getting what he wants. And I think he realizes the art of the deal is not something that you can play with Vladimir Putin.
Those powerful pictures emerging of Donald Trump and Zelensky talking on the sidelines of the Pope's funeral. We don't know what was said, but something made Donald Trump issue his strongest criticism yet of Putin following that 15-minute chat with Zelensky. What are you hearing, Tara?
Sal, the sense I get from Republicans, especially Trump allies, is that they have no more appetite for this war. Their patience has run thin, and unless they can declare that they were responsible for some sort of victory or for some sort of peace for Ukraine, then they'll continue having the talks. But, everything indicates that they are losing interest in the war in Ukraine. Yeah, so there's some pressure to sign the minerals deal and to settle up with Vladimir Putin, even if that means giving up Crimea.
Will Ukraine give up Crimea and other territory that Russia's occupying in return for peace, as Donald Trump is proposing? And would Ukrainians be up for that so that, they can simply get on with their lives after more than 3 years? Well, I'm going to speak to Ukrainian journalist Artem Lysak first. Artem, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you today is because, not only are you a very impressive journalist, but you also spent a lot of time reporting undercover in Crimea after Russia took control of Crimea in 2014. And obviously, yes, Crimea is now a really big sticking point in this peace deal. And I just wanted to get your take on it, really. As someone that knows Crimea very well, much better than the average person, what's your take on that condition?
It's very weird. We were fighting for Crimea, for not losing Crimea for more than 10 years, and now just suddenly we hear such very weird things. I don't believe that Ukrainians in general will support this idea. At least they will not support official recognition that Crimea will be the part of Russia, definitely.
And yeah, Donald Trump himself has kind of mused that, from what he's heard, people in Crimea would like to be part of Russia. What's your take on that? Do people in Crimea feel more Russian than Ukrainian?
In 2014, they were kids, 10, 8 years old, and now they are 20, 22 years old men and women. And they don't even remember those times. They were raised like in Russia, and there's a lot of propaganda in their schools, and especially in Crimea. And yes, it's became harder and harder because we have now a young generation, which don't remember Ukraine, and it's very sad. It's unfortunate to say it might be, our lost generation.
And just describe to people what Crimea is like, Artem.
It's one of the most beautiful place in all Ukraine. There is a sea, resorts. There's also mountains. And I mean, it's just amazing. Before annexation, I used to be in Crimea as a child, but after that, I haven't been there. And when I started working undercover, I just loved that place. I was thinking maybe after liberation of Crimea, I was thinking maybe I should move there and live there because it's just amazing place.
And so a reminder for people who aren't familiar with the history, in 2014, Russia invaded Crimea, took control by force against international law, and Ukraine has essentially been at war with Russia ever since. And then there was the all-out invasion of the country 3 years ago. So just to paint the picture, after Russia took control in 2014, did people then have to start speaking Russian instead of Ukrainian in Crimea?
Majority of people were speaking Russian in Crimea.
Anyway, as a first language.
As a first language, yes. As some other parts of Ukraine also. But of course, those who were speaking Ukrainian, it became dangerous because for Russian government, then you are a threat. For me, I will tell you some stories. For my native language is Ukrainian, and when I was working undercover, sometimes I was forgetting to switch. For example, when I was interviewing someone, sometimes I can forget Russian word and I using Ukrainian instead. And sometimes it can be dangerous. It depends who are you talking with. Or sometimes I'm, for example, in cafe and saying thank you in Ukrainian, instead of Russian, and sometimes it might be very dangerous. So a lot of people, of course, fled from Crimea to Ukraine, but there are still a lot of pro-Ukrainian people there.
Do you think that Ukrainians would accept giving up Crimea to Russia in return for peace? What's the general feeling from people that you speak to?
It's such a lot of levels in this question. Personally, I'm against it. I don't want to lose Crimea. For example, there's a lot of people in Ukraine, especially civilians, who are ready to say like, okay, fuck it. We don't want it. We just want peace. We are so tired of bombing, of everything. For example, I'm pretty sure my granny will say, I don't want Crimea. I just want peace. I just want those deaths to stop. And I know a lot of soldiers who will tell, I want to fight till the end. I've lost like dozens of my comrades, and I don't want they like deaths like to be for nothing. We at some point, like we believe that West will support us all the time, But it was our mistake. Unfortunately, nobody except of us can like defend ourselves.
Do you feel betrayed by your allies?
Every day, Ukrainians waking up and reading news and reading some quotes from Trump, and for other people in the world, it's just memes in internet. They are laughing at his words, but for us, it's our lives. Those kind of things that he is saying, supporting Russian narratives. So yes, we feel betrayed. I don't think we feel betrayed by Europe, but Europe have to mobilize much more earlier.
I spoke to a Ukrainian friend not that long ago who was saying, I can't leave the country, a bit like you said. I can't leave the country. I can't plan what I'm doing in a few weeks' time. I can't take holidays. Life is essentially, it's ground to a halt in terms of living the lives that you dreamed of, that people take for granted elsewhere.
You asked if I have children. I don't, but I planned. But now it's very hard during the war. For example, if you have a baby, if there is a big shelling, I'm staying home. I don't go to the shelter. I already used to it. But if I will have baby, I will need to do it every night. So a lot of people, don't want to have children now just because of that issues, or they going somewhere else.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I actually interviewed a guy in Gaza last week who is an aid worker. He's just another contact, and they had a baby like 6 weeks ago, and the baby had some health complications, so had to stay in hospital. And the hospital was bombed when the baby and the mum were in there. I know. And you know what? It was just like his story was so harrowing. But the one question I forgot to ask him, Artem, is why did, some people might say, well, why did you have a baby during this terrible time for your country, for your territory? I didn't ask him that. It's I kind of wish I had, in a way. It would have given him a chance to explain, because people have sort of questioned it on social media since. But yeah, I mean, imagine bringing a baby into that right now. I totally understand your position.
Yeah, but still, I mean, life is going on. It's already 3 years, and we don't know if maybe it will be another 10. So
I know.
People just have to have babies,
Yeah, well, no, exactly. I wonder though, do you think 10 years, 10 years, they can't maintain martial law for that long, can they?
We didn't believe into 2022 that it will be 3 years. I've told my mom, I remember, she said, how long it will be? I said, like, maybe 3 years? And she said, no way, no, and on our television, it's still, day 22 of war, now it's 1145 or whatever, so it might be that we will have like another 3 years or whatever.
Tara, let's find out about what ordinary people are going through in Ukraine. Well, my next guest, Julia, she set up an NGO more than 3 years ago and has been working tirelessly to help communities that have been bombed and cut off during this war. Julia, hi. You're from Odessa, which is in the very south of Ukraine. And how often is Odessa getting hit at the moment, Julia?
Every night for the past months. Every night we have over 40 Shaheds and rockets. And you just be checking WhatsApp channels where you know where they fly. And you hear it. The sound is a bit like a motorcycle. We call it bikes. Shahed, so you'll hear this very specific sound that's flying next to your window. That's if you don't go to the bomb shelter. It's creepy, of course. And then you hear a bomb or somewhere, and you just keep chatting with your loved ones. Are you okay? Are you okay? Everybody's fine. Keep checking on everyone, and it's tough. And usually this is about 11, 12 midnight. It starts for a couple of hours just to harass our psyche.
And what toll is that taking on you, on your loved ones, on the people that you know, that you're going to bed every night knowing that the city is being hit by rockets and you're checking in on each other?
There was a time when most of us just could not go to the bomb shelter again because one has to sleep. You cannot just be waking up or sleeping in the clothes every night. But recently, most of the people started again going down to the bomb shelter. And a lot of health issues, even in our team, we see young people started having heart attacks. If before we had this 50 plus, now it's 40-year-old. Just last week, we had 2 of the staff members having their mother and their wife put to hospital because of the heart attack.
It's always struck me on the occasions when I've been in Ukraine since 2022, just how everyone in the country has been affected. It's an enormous country geographically. And every single person you meet has been impacted in some way by the war, whether it's they've got a child fighting on the front line, they've lost a loved one, they've lost their livelihood, they've had to change what they're doing to help with the war effort, or they can't leave the country. So when you go into these communities, Julia, that have been bombed and cut off, what do you find when you get there?
Mentally, everybody is very tired, and most of them, their males are serving or their children are serving. A lot of them have lost someone there. Until today, every day the attacks happen with the new drones. The roads are mined with these drones. It's very dangerous for people even to move from village to village to see their relations or to buy food. For example, even the civilian bicycles or cars can be bombed by a drone as they move about. So there is a lot of fear.
Now, you've done a lot of work with children in the last 3 years. In fact, that's how we first came into contact, is I heard you were helping children who'd been orphaned since the all-out invasion began. How are children faring? The children that you come into contact with, what's been the impact on them psychologically?
Children, they are very adaptive in one side. So our children definitely know now the sounds of different missiles. They know if this is our missiles, the Ukrainian that went out to protect us, or if it's an enemy missile. They know how to differentiate that, which is terrible.
Hang on, just stop that. They can tell the difference by the sound,
from the sound,
whether it's a Russian...
Because if you hear the bomb, so you know it's our defense system that should they attack, or if something's flying down and it hit the ground, so they can even tell us, don't worry, this is our defense system. So it sounds very horrible, but of course it's after 3 years of COVID, now 4 years of war. It's been already 7 years of children not getting proper education. These are the children of war, so. All of them know that they must go to the bomb shelter when they hear a raid. And even the babies in our team, we have 2 or 3 babies. The parents got a baby, and unfortunately, every night they have to go down to the bomb shelter, which affects the worker itself and the child. So,
and Julia, your NGO that you founded is called New Dawn.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm asking you this, because I'm sure it's an impossible question to answer, but how long do you think it will be before you see that new dawn?
Well, that's how we called it in the beginning of the war, because we'll hope that we'll see the new dawn. And they say it's always darker before the dawn. And we, for some times, already thought, okay, this is the darkest. Our first winter without electricity, we thought, okay, after this winter, there must be peace, because this is terrible and unbearable. But we survived. Then the new drones and new attacks in the front line with the whole new level of war activities. We thought, okay, this is the darkest times. So after this, probably the peace will come. But for some times, we already stopped saying, okay, this is the darkness. So
yeah. Do you feel any sense of confidence or hope in this peace plan?
We've put our trust in this hope for many times already, and it failed. So I guess everybody feels like, no, it won't work. It won't help. But I think in the very deep of our hearts, of course, we will hope that the miracle will happen, and they'll find a solution and the common grounds, because they're up there on their level. This is just a discussion, but on our level, this is our lives and death and the whole life for millions of people. So, of course, we cannot lose hope, but to be honest, it doesn't look good to us over here.
So, Tara, that is the latest from the ground in Ukraine. A pretty sobering update. We're going to be covering this story regularly on State of the World. It still feels like there's a long way to go. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate your support. And if you haven't subscribed already, please hit subscribe. It's free to follow us, and we really appreciate your company.
See you. Bye, Sal. Cheers. Like this, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. We'll be back again next week.